Hello everyone, welcome back for another video here. This is another Resident Evil tier list. This is sort of a follow-up to the last week's video where we did all of the monsters, BOWs, and enemies. This week we're going to do just strictly the human characters or human-based characters. Some of these will be a little iffy there. Found an interesting list here on Tiermaker that actually has every variation covered, which I like a lot here. It'll help us be a little more specific, and hopefully it doesn't take over 2 hours like the last one did. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. I do have a never played here. These are mainly just the Dark Side and Umbrella Chronicle versions of the characters, and I have never played those. So these will be mainly just obviously this is all just my preference. You know, you may agree, you may not. Just be nice about it regardless. You know, we all got our own opinion. But also this is just going to be on likability for various reasons I'll state. I know there's one character on this list that is going to be very low for me compared to a lot of people, and I'm sure that'll be like a what the hell, but yeah. But I'll explain everything pretty well. Or, you know, I'll make an effort to explain it well. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. But let's get started. I think for this one, we'll just go ahead and go down the list as provided here. Help keep it a little more organized and everything. And we'll start with Ada. This is the Resident Evil 2 classic, Ada Wong. And where does she fit in? I'm going to give her a B. Ada's a little off-putting to Leon at first, but she helps him out. She has some great moments at the end, especially in the B scenario. She, of course, comes through clutch with the rocket launcher. Her design's pretty good. It's fine. It does the job. Obviously, she's a character that benefits greatly from future versions, like in Resident Evil Remake 2, where she's probably takes a step above. Again, much like the monster one, I'm going to go ahead and sort these kind of like this. I'm going to keep her around the B list, though. It feels a little low, but that's why we have Resident Evil 4 Ada, who is my personal favorite version of the character. I'm going to slide her into the A rank. This one, she finally feels like she hits the spy note just right. I don't know, she's not as off-putting. Perhaps she's got the charm set to, you know, 11 out of 10 here. She just plays off of Leon a lot better in 4, I think. And granted, they just met in 2, so that's part of it. But I think she's solid right there. And then Resident Evil 6. She's not... she feels more of the same here. We're going to put her in the C slot. This is where this list will be a little weird, because it's like, man, we have one character is in 3 different tiers, but I just think her writing isn't as sharp. She's not as clever. She just feels like she's kind of rehashing what she's done before, and there's some quality to that, but at the same time, I wish she just would have maybe evolved a little bit, given the number of years it's been. Just a little bit more. They do give her some interesting backstory, but not really even that. It's actually so much that there's a clone of her out there, but yeah. Anyway. Alright, so we did the villains last week. We'll go ahead and cover them again here. Alexia is probably on this list. I'd put her as a D. Her actual development is pretty weak. I kind of mentioned it in the villain video. I wish she just had more. They gave herself more time. Like, I think her actual story, and like when you read the files and find out about her, and like how she's in the cryo arrest and she needed to be there for 15 years and all that stuff, is good. I think she's a good villain in all that regard. It's just her true screen time is very limited. It is cool seeing her smack around Wesker a little bit, but taking her strictly as a character, there's not much there. And, yeah, she just needs a little more to work with. Now, Alfred, oh my goodness. I'm going to put him as a D as well. I'll give him this much, like, I think they establish him pretty early, which is good. And they give him a lot of what should have been Alexia's time, maybe. I think he delivers pretty well. His voice and his laugh, of course, just get huge laughs, but, you know, and of course this is such an awkward character duo to work with. If you play the game, you'll know what I mean. I'm not going to dive into it here, but, their relationship is very odd, and I think what they were trying to do with him mostly works, but at the same time, the character itself is kind of cringy too. And this is, but I gotta make sure it's known too, this is going to be a tough list to make higher on. It'll be kind of like the BOW list, where the D is just kind of like the okay. The only really bad ones, I would say, are probably F. Yeah, so it's going to be a tough list to make the top spots on. Let's just keep that in mind. Alright, we got Resident Evil 2 Classic Annette here. I'm going to give Annette a C. And she's okay. I wish she had a little more screen time, but she serves her role pretty well. I think she fits in nicely here around the C tier. And I'm going to give her the same slot again for the remake. I think she's much better overall in this one. I like the fact that they developed her relationship with Sherry a little bit more, at least in the Claire campaign. You know, the thing is, like, this isn't, like, when you think of Annette, or when you think of Resident Evil characters, though, or Resident Evil 2 characters, even, she's, like, one of the last ones you think of, for a reason. She serves a very quality purpose, but maybe not in the most memorable of ways. And, yeah, that's how it goes. Alright, Ashley. You know, Ashley's an interesting one. Everybody wants to slide her into F. I'm gonna slide her into D. Alright. Alright. We gotta be honest here. What is Ashley Graham, really? She's a teenage, she's like, you know, 18, 20-year-old, what I've heard number of ages. But anyway, she's a young girl, the president's daughter, kidnapped. I think all things considered, she handles herself well. Now, you might be saying, she gets me killed a lot. I contest, Ashley Graham does not cause nearly as many deaths as she's blamed for. She causes some, but most of it is user error that she takes the blame for. Now, that might cause a little bit of backlash, but I'm not saying she doesn't cause some, because she does. But most of it is user error. So from the gameplay perspective, I'll give her a pass. What is annoying, though, is the screaming. And the thing is, like, there's a couple times when she's screaming, it's fine, I understand why she is. But then, like, after she sees Leon and is aware he's there, this is most notable at the island section, when you first rescue her. In chapter 5-2, I believe it is. She sees you. You go and you have to go and unlock the door, find the key card to unlock the door by killing an Iron Maiden. She still keeps screaming and banging on the door, even though she knows Leon's there. That alone was so bad. Her voice is just ear-piercing, too. So she belongs in the D tier. But she does not belong in the F, because mechanically, this character actually functions pretty well, especially for a 2005 title. Yeah, I'm not gonna be too harsh on poor Ashley. Alright, Barry Burton. Now, everybody would slide Barry into the S tier, and maybe you're right, but I'm gonna give him an A. This is RE1 Barry, so obviously we're talking about the wordsmith of the series here. You know, this is the true Jill Sandwich one. This is the, you know, can of fizz, all that good stuff. I think, you know, Barry just, he has that long-lasting, like, kind of legacy appeal to him in that regard of camp. the thing is, and he also comes through clutch with you with Wesker at the end. It's all great. He's not quite leading man material, but I think this is a perfect spot for him. He deserves this. Now they kind of take him down a notch though in the remake, and it's not too bad. I'm still gonna throw him on the B tier here, and I wish he like a lot of his they were trying to take the remakes more seriously, obviously. So a lot of his charming lines were taken away, and while the character is fine, they do play his paranoia and his stress up a lot better in the remake. So I give him points for that. Like, the angle that he is indeed the traitor is played much better. But yeah, it's just not quite the same. But B is still good. I like Barry overall. Revelations 2 Barry, he's pretty solid too. It kind of reminds me of the RE6 one of Ada, but this is a good character. He's solid. It's awesome just running through there and killing shit with him. But of the 3 berries, it's my least favorite. Alright, Billy Coen. I don't like Billy at all. I'm tempted to give Billy an F. I'll put him as a D for now. I might bump into F before this is all said and done. Billy, I don't understand how this guy has any appeal at all. Now, I'm no Resident Evil 0 fan, and maybe the annoyance of playing that game and managing it plays part of this, but to me, he's like a kind of a off-putting douchebag of a character. He's a murderer as far as we all know. The only people that believe it is Rebecca, and the fact that he tells us he's not. And, you know, that's whatever, but I don't know, he's not really likable at all. He's not given any great lines or anything. I don't know. I've never seen the appeal of this character. He has a nice following to him, kind of like RE0 in a way, where the people that seem to like him and like that game seem to like it quite a bit. I myself don't see it. All right, let's see here. We got our Chris's out of order. We'll do Resident Evil Classic Chris. Resident Evil Classic Chris is an interesting one because he's given some of the worst lines in the game. The root of the problem after killing the Plant 42 is soul-crushingly bad to hear. And yet, it somehow still kind of works. He functions pretty well as the lead, or whatever you want to call him. We'll put him on the B tier. It's tough. Because he's so bad in some spots, but he's rarely great. Like, he doesn't have that level of charm Barry hits with his lines, and I don't know. He has the awkward conversations with Rebecca where he treats her almost a little too much like a child. Again, you know, we gotta make sure we're keeping in mind of what all we're talking about here, but yeah, I think that's kind of where he probably fits. Now, this is the Code Veronica Chris. This is my favorite take on Chris. I'm going to throw this one in the S tier. I think this is by far the best Chris we've ever gotten. He's out to save Claire, which I love the way they play that up. But my favorite part of the whole game is when he stands up to Wesker at the end and he takes an ass whooping. But he stays in there, holds his own as long as he can. And the level of confidence he shows that he will stop Wesker, I really love. I also just think this is my favorite design for the character as well. You know, because he's a little... Well, this version's just blocky. But then this one, I think, looks the best overall before he turns into a comic book character. Overall, I think this is a pretty good Chris, though. I think this is the best Chris. The definitive one. Resident Evil Remake Chris is definitely better than the original. I think he fits in here. He's given pretty good lines. You know, I don't really have much to say here. I think he just, he works well. He's Chris. You know, we can only say so much about Chris. We'll do the RE5 one last. I know I'm doing them in a lot of order here. I think this is the Revelations one. The Revelations Chris is kind of forgettable. On the Chris scale, this is pretty low. I'm gonna throw him on the C tier here. He's Chris, obviously, which is good. Chris always plays well off of Claire, or I mean Joel, excuse me. Well, and Claire to an extent, but you know, so it works well there. He is definitely second fiddle there, and they park him with Jessica most of the game, which doesn't do him any favors either. So I think that's a good spot for that version. Assuming this is the RE6 one, this is D tier. I like you know, obviously I like Chris pretty well. I mean, he's got a slot on the 2 top ranks. I don't like this version of him much. I appreciate the fact that he goes through some good arcs in the arcs. Let's not over dramatize this, that he's like but they don't keep it consistent well enough, always to me, where he'll go like brooding alcoholic in the first 5 minutes to over aggressive soldier, but to super soldier to I can't lose any more men, but he's willing to trust everyone in it, like willing to trust Leon still. I don't know. I probably didn't describe that very well. I just don't like his arc very much in that game. He goes through some changes or whatever, which is okay, but yeah. Okay, this is the controversial one though. This is the Chris we all remember. This is the boulder punching Chris. Such a ridiculous character. His design is weird. But I'm gonna put him in the B tier. And I'll tell you, he fits his game so well. Resident Evil 5, of course, is way over the top. Action, all that stuff. But I always just make the case that Chris, of course, looks this way because of the Code Veronica Chris. See, at the end of Code Veronica, he takes the before-mentioned ass-whooping by Wesker. I just assumed he started shooting up roids the second after that happened, saying, look, if I run into this guy again, I got to be able to fight him. So he shoots up and becomes, you know, a comic book character. Like, his in-game dialogue and everything is on the weaker side, I think. I like the fact that he has a little bit of regret for what happens with Jill, or he thinks happens with Jill. But, all that said, I love how over the top they made him. I mean, the boulder punch is legendary. It probably could even place him a little higher onto the A tier, but I think B is where he probably should go. It's such a silly character, but I like it. I like it. Alright, we got our Claire's out of order here. RE2 Classic Claire. Claire's always a favorite. I think she's rock solid. She, you know, the RE2 Classic Claire is, you know, she looks after Sherry, which is always great. She shows a level of confidence, which is awesome. Overall, she's just pretty badass, let's be real. And I think she settles well here onto this list. We'll keep going on Claire with Code Veronica Claire. Claire and Code Veronica I will put as an S. I think she's awesome in this. She got the badass opening scene. The one knock you could make is that she does have to be saved, and she probably pours out the tears a little much on old Steve, who we'll get to later. You know, that's not really fair though. So, but she's incredibly badass in this game, only to be topped by her take in the remake 2. The Claire in remake 2 is incredibly well done. I know some people may not like her design. I think she looks great. she may go a little overboard with the flirtiness towards Leon, but she is a damn badass. The moment, like, when you get to the G4 fight, or I mean G3 fight, excuse me, and she just lowers that the ramp down, saying she's gonna put a stop to it and everything, and like, yeah, this is a badass character. They did such a good job with her in that game. I'll get you, you fucker, going after Chief Irons. Love it. My favorite parts of the game all revolve around her. And then, of course, they strengthen the relationship with her and Sherry even more so there, too. Yeah, I think excellent. Excellent. And then Revelations 2 is probably my least favorite take on Claire. She's fine, but kind of like Barry, where I feel like the character's fine. It just, maybe if the writing was better for the both of these, really, like, it would have helped. I kind of feel that way with Revelations 1 Chris as well. I think the writing just didn't quite back them up as much as it needed to. But, you know, she's good. I like the what she goes through in the final act as well. Yeah, Claire is consistently good, I think. Helena Harper here. D. Helena, again, I appreciate the fact that she actually has a decent part in the story. In the Leon campaign in RE6. She's just not very interesting, though. She's more of, like, you know, she cares about her sister, which we all appreciate, but I don't know. I maybe it's just because of the way RE6 is presented, but it was so hard to get engaged with the characters in that game. Chris is probably the best one, and he's on the D list, so what's that tell you? Leon's, well, actually, Leon's probably the best one, but anyway, we'll get to that. But, yeah, not much of a fan of her. But Jessica here. Okay, Resident Evil Revelations 1. This is a terrible character. She exists only to be one of those Capcom female characters that, you know, is the fan service and all that. I mean, we all know what she is. Come on. And she's not even well written. They wanted to have that femme fatale character kind of thing go from her, of where she's like a step above Ada in that regard, of where she'll, like, you know, she's just out in the mysterious corporation or whatever, but she's not a very good character. Okay. Not good at all. Definitely F. On to much better. Resident Evil Classic Jill. I think Classic Jill kind of suffers from the same problems as Classic Chris, where, you know, she's fine, but what are you gonna say? I mean, the line, she's not giving great dialogue, really. She's just so bad, but it's funny. You know, she has a good design and everything. She's okay. I think that's about where she fits. Resident Evil Remake Jill. This one's a little better. I'd actually probably put her with Chris again. I think she's a little better than Chris overall. I like the fact that they have her confront Barry a little more in this one directly. I think it's awesome when she takes his magnum from him and does force him to start talking, and you have to make your decision whether you believe him or not. Yeah, Jill is awesome in the remake. Only to be topped, though, by maybe the greatest of the characters. We'll see where it ends up. RE3 Jill is the ultimate badass. You know, the idea that like, she's on the run from the get-go, which is awesome. But, you know, she tries to help everyone she can, like the guy at the beginning and everything, and she just is in that true ultimate survivor mode the whole way through, because she has Nemesis on her ass the whole time. In moments like shining bright lights on him on the clock tower and going up to this 8-foot monster and pushing him off the side of it, or knocking him off the bridge if you decide to do either of those things, or just fighting the guy himself. It's so badass, so well done. And then, of course, the ultimate moment, maybe the coolest moment in all of Resident Evil, is stars. You want stars, I'll show you stars, or I'll give you stars. And when she takes him down for good, so awesome, so badass, easily S tier. Let's see here. We got RE5 Jill. This one's not so good. I like Jill a lot, but this is not very good. Yeah, we're gonna put her down here. I mean, she's the only reason I'd rank her higher is strictly because she's Jill, and that's kind of defeating the point of what we're doing here. I think we're gonna bump old Billy down. I don't like Billy. I'm sorry, and like, she serves her purpose. For one, let's be real here. The idea of, like, concealing who it was, that completely flopped. It was so obvious that Jill was in this game from, like, the first time you see the cloaked, masked woman. She's not really given much to say. She's not as... I mean, she encourages Chris and everything, but at the same time, I don't know. I just don't like her very much. Maybe it's because they had her in that villain role for a bit. I don't know. It's just not the same. Revelations Jill is a bit better. I like her much better than Chris in this game. I think this to me proves as well that Jill can pretty well carry a game as well. I mean, they've had her do that plenty of times before. But what I mean by this is Revelations to me is a weaker game than most of them. And it is not at all because of Jill. This is pretty solid. I'm going to put her actually up here. I think this is actually even a little better than the classic one. I think she's given mostly good moments. Yeah, there's nothing you can really say bad about Jill in that game, overall. So we got Krauser on here. Alright, Krauser's a little out of place on this in reality, because... Oh, I guess we have the Ashfords already on here, too. I was going to say because of the villains, but I love Krauser myself. I just wish he had more screen time. Again, he kind of suffers from... Annette suffers from the same thing. If they just don't have enough screen time compared to a lot of these characters. I think Krauser is a awesome addition to RE4, though. I'm going to put him on the B tier, because as a villain, when you factor in his fight and everything, which is kind of what we did on the last one, he's maybe A tier. Oh boy, this is tough. Because we don't really play... Boy, where do I want to put him? Because I didn't really consider him quite the same way. Boy, I'm gonna put him in the A. I like this character. I like that character a lot. He doesn't have the screen time, maybe, but I think he has memorable lines, and he looks cool, and he does have an awesome final form as a boss and everything. So, yeah, well, we'll stick with that. That's fine. Alright, so we got, we're on to Mr. Kennedy here. Let's get him organized here. I guess that actually was kind of right, wasn't it? But, anyway, Resident Evil 2 Classic Leon. Classic Leon is not as good as Claire, but he's not bad either. I'm willing to throw him up here. Probably below Jill. He's about on par with Chris. See, the thing is, he might not even be above Jill. What I like about this version of Leon is this Leon is so clearly duped. Like, I mean, Ada would never do that. I know her. You've known her for 20 minutes, dude. Shut up. But I love the fact that he kind of becomes self-aware by the B scenario. Of like, does anybody listen to me? You know, those great lines like that. I really enjoy that factor of him. I feel like they had so much fun writing Leon overall in this one. I don't know, he's such a... It's such a weird character because... it feels like everything about him should, like... Because he's an idiot at times, but he's not at others, where it feels like he should be lower by all accounts. But he's not. You just can't help but like him in general. You know, whether you're a Chris or Leon or, you know, whoever fan. I don't think anybody actively dislikes him, you know? Something about the way they have always done this character. So we'll do the Remake 2 one. I don't like this one as much as Claire. One thing I've always said about Leon, though, is I think they kept him pretty consistent game to game. Like, of all the characters in the remake, some go up, some go down. Like, I think, for example, Ben is worse in the remake. I think Claire is better, clearly, as we talked about just a moment ago. Leon, I think, is pretty much on par, though. He has a few better one-liners in this one. But I like the confidence he shows a little bit more of here, and the, like, when he makes the talk to Ada about wanting to help people like Kendo and everything. I really like that scene for him. But he, like, the way they play him getting duped never has felt right in RE2. And I don't know, like, it's just not quite there yet. But where they do get there is Resident Evil 4. Leon is awesome. I love the way they did Leon pretty much throughout. He has great cheese one-liners throughout. Great A stuff for sure. You know, I think they nailed it with him. He was the perfect character, and they threw him into the situation just right. You know, he can run through lasers and everything. Of course, that game is crazy, but yeah, he, to me, 100% is S-class, S rank. RE6 Leon. Now, I don't hate this one as much as I thought I would. I was replaying this game recently, and he's not as good as the other ones, but he's not terrible really either. I get the one thing I like about him is he has the feeling that he has indeed grown over the years. Like, you can really tell he's been at this stuff for over 20 years by now. And I like that because a lot of the characters kind of lack that. Ada lacks that. And Chris, to a pretty good extent, kind of lacks that. Chris almost feels like he's trapped. Like, he's almost a new soldier, almost. Like, he's a leader, but he's... You think he would have seen more in the time that he's been at it than he has. And Leon doesn't have that, though. He is the experienced cop. I'm going to put him right at the front line at the C tier. It is the worst Leon, though, because he just doesn't... Maybe he's just too old for this shit kind of thing. Maybe that's kind of where they took the character by then. But, it's a good Leon overall. And, oh, here we go. Luis. Luis is a tough one to rank on a list like this. He kind of falls into that Annette group. I like most of what he has to say in general. I was always glad he's on screen, but he's on there for so little, it's a little tougher to gauge. But yeah, he's got some good one-liners. He fits in the RE4 really well. His plot points are actually quite strong. Reading the documents will definitely point that out. I think he fits into the C tier. You know, he's He's not as memorable necessarily as, say, Ada is. You know, that's not really fair either. I think he's solidly a C. He could possibly even get up into the B area, but I think for now that's about where he really belongs. Moira Burton is... she's either a low C or a high D. I'm going to put her in the D. Probably right around here. Like, I actually like the relationship they kind of build between her and Barry. It feels real. It feels like something that could definitely have happened. And I think they actually handle all of it pretty well. The idea that she's terrified to use guns, even when there are monsters barreling down at her and Claire, and the idea that she'd rather die than use one to save her life. I mean, granted, the ending of that game changes that a bit. Man, that might seem a bit extreme, but, you know, that's a gameplay excuse, so I'll forgive it. Overall, she's not bad. I wish she had a little more overall quality to what she says, though. She definitely feels like a co-op partner, and we'll get to that with Sheva in a little bit, of where, like, you know, she's a little more involved as far as playing off of Claire, but she's definitely in Claire's game. Let's be real. You know, like, it's not a co-op of the two of them, it's her with Claire. So Natalia kind of falls into a similar vein. She's not terrible. She's kind of fun to play as, actually. And her long stint could be a little more interesting as well. I will say it's a little predictable of what path they take Natalia down, though, which bugs me. She's D, though. Like, it's a tough list, again, to move some of these characters around, but, I mean, you know, that's about right. I'm not gonna lie, I forget what this guy's name is. He's Jill's partner in Revelations 1. I thought it was like Pascal or something along those lines, so I apologize if I just said it wrong. He's completely forgettable, though. I mean, I don't know. The characters other than Chris and Jill in Revelations 1 are all terrible. They are all terrible. There's a guy literally called Jackass in that game for good reason. And, yeah, he's, I mean, I felt a little bad when he died, I guess, but as a whole, like, it just felt like, dude, get the hell out of Chris's spot. That's what I was thinking the whole time. Alright, we got Mr. Piers here from Resident Evil 6. You know, when you start off RE6, it would seem easy to hate Piers. He's the young, little wide-eyed soldier who's trying to be a little hothead and you just want to slap him sometimes. But, you know, by the end of the campaign for Chris, I actually didn't really hate this character too much. I'm going to give him a C slot. I don't know, maybe it's because I feel bad. I don't feel bad, but the way, you know, him going through the transformation and everything, and all he ends up going through, I kind of appreciate that part of it. And he does stand up to Chris a couple of times, which I liked as well. So I think that's a good spot for him. You know, he's not that bad. I think he's better than Helena. He's better than RE5 Jill. I think he's a little better than Chris in that game. Maybe because, you know, of course, Chris, you have to remember too, we've seen like a number of times beforehand. This is a fresh new character, so that helps. That gives him a bit of an unfair edge, but I think Piers is a little better. Alright, now this is the big one. Okay, this is the really big one. Rebecca Chambers is a terrible character, people. When are we going to wake up and accept this? I just never have quite gotten it. I think maybe the fact that she's cute or whatever kind of elevates her. She doesn't quite belong with the Drax down here. But, I mean, her voice... See, like, in RE1 Classic, you have Barry, Chris, and Jill all have terrible voice works. Wesker as well. But they all have memorable things to say. She, to me, is just cringy all the way. It's not even, like, funny in that campy Resident Evil way. And, I mean, she heals you. She's somewhat helpful. I'll say that about her, but come on. Let's be real here. This is not a solid character at all. Like I said, I think she's just meant to be that doe-eyed rookie. And she is. They definitely did that part of it right. But is she really much more than that? No. She's cute. We love her. She's sweet Rebecca. But come on now. Like, there's a lot of lists that are going to put her up in this area. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a hater. I just, yeah, I don't see it. I really don't. And, you know, this is the RE, I'm going to just count this as the RE0 version. This one is a little better. She's better than stupid Billy, but I'm still going to put her down here on the D tier. Like, she's so naive, and she's a rookie, so they want to emphasize that, but I just don't get it. Like, to me, I've mentioned this on my stream, I really wish RE0 actually was just, well, one character, cut Billy's angle out of it completely, but have Enrico be the lead. I think that game would have been a lot more interesting, a lot more believable, perhaps. Or even have Enrico replace Billy and have, so basically him leading the rookie. But we can't ignore the fact too that Capcom completely ignored the fact that Rebecca goes through all this stuff in RE0 and then they just assume she's never going to say anything about it in the first game. Now granted, you know, obviously it came after, so yeah, they aren't going to know that, but that's something you need to address when you make a prequel. And the thing is, she goes from being relatively confident, she kills a proto-tyrant, she helps kill Leech Queen, to being completely useless and, you know, crawling in a corner with a hunter about to kill her, needing Chris to save her. It doesn't work. The character just is, like I said, mostly cute. That's where it all comes from. But otherwise, I think she's just like mostly an annoyance. She's not funny. She's not quirky. She's not much else. Again, I know that's the one that'll get a lot of pushback. I apologize, but you know, it's just my opinion. All right, Sherry. This is RE2 Classic Sherry. I'm gonna give her a slot on the D tier. I'll say this about Sherry. You know, for a 90s era little kid, she's actually not badly voiced. She's really not. I'm actually impressed to say it, too. She's not as bad as she should be. Now, and you even play as her, and she plays, and it's like, whatever, there. But I think she fits into her story pretty well and all that. I think Sherry herself is actually a pretty good character. And we'll move on with, you know, kind of run into that with the Remake 2. Remake 2 kicks the shit out of the original Sherry. This Sherry, I think, is legitimately a pretty good character. I think they captured the idea of her being Newt from Aliens. I mean, she even looks like her. I think they hit the nail on the head with that. The moment when she's just like, you need help, to Claire, when Birkin is falling down behind her. So good. I think she's given interesting stuff to say. Her gameplay section is fun. I love the fact that she throws the acid or in the fluid into Chief Iron's face. This is a good character, and it was nice to see, because kids in games like this are often bad, or they're just conveniently ignored, or just never addressed at all. So I give them a lot of credit for how good of a job is done on that character. RE6 Sherry is probably the worst one of the Sherrys. I mean, she's not bad. She kind of fills that Rebecca role. She's she's better than Rebecca. She's better than this Rebecca. I might give her a low C even. I like the scene. Probably my favorite part with Sherry is the fact that it's probably when she finally meets up with Leon and confronts Simmons, and I appreciate the way they handled her history with Leon, but also the fact that she does indeed have a job under this guy. So it's like he manages her professional life and her personal life. Well, I'm stumbling there, but she's not bad. She's not bad, and she could have been terrible. Of course, there's the scene they forced in there, the fan service scene that everybody talks about with her, but she's pretty good. I actually kind of hope we see some more of Sherry in the future. I think she could even carry her own game, perhaps. Perhaps, I don't know. We'll have to see on that one, but yeah, not terrible, not bad at all. Better than, like I said, better than the original one, and above all, she's not annoying. Like, they could have made that mistake, but didn't. So, yeah. All right. Again, Sheva is kind of like Moira. I mean, I'd put her down here. The problem with Sheva's really... okay, now, wait. Okay, Sheva's not terrible. The problem with Sheva is you can tell she was kind of a shoehorned in character. You notice if you play Resident Evil 5, Wesker never once acknowledges her. Doesn't that seem like it's a problem of where a co-op partner is never even really acknowledged? Now, like, she has some good lines with Chris, though, and everything. I don't think she's really that bad, but you can just tell her main purpose is to be a co-op character. There's a bit of a problem with that, and but I think they get the most out of that type of character they can with her. And yeah, I love the "This is for our fallen brothers" line. I think that all works pretty well. She's really, I think there's a lot more potential growth for her. I'd actually like a game with her, kind of to the Sherry point, where I'd be curious to see if they would ever do something properly with just her. Or maybe not just her, but even just give her like her own campaign, real stuff to do. I think there's real ground for it. I think she could make a good character that way, but in RE5 they just limit her so much. And so yeah, it's not entirely, like I said, not really that character's fault, but yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Steve Badass Burnside is F. And you notice Steve's not the worst. Steve's better than these two. Steve is pure cringe, though. He tries to kiss Claire when she's asleep. He causes a massive gas leak in the Antarctic base because he's staring at Claire's ass. I mean, Steve, we all appreciate the view, but get your shit together, kid. Of course, the infamous father scene is hilarious. But he is just pure cringe the whole way through. He's not really likable. He's kind of a whiny bitch. And, yeah, I mean, what can be said? It's Steve. I That's all I got. All right, we got Code Veronica of Wesker. This is a good Wesker. I really like this Wesker. Let's see. I'm gonna put him right about here, maybe. The Code Veronica Wesker is good. I think he has excellent scenes, especially the one at the end when he kind of just starts beating the crap out of Chris, and he really starts to ham it up a bit. I'm totally cool with that. I think this is a good Wesker though, and it was a good progression point. One of my favorite parts about Wesker, and I've kind of alluded to it with the other characters in this, is how much you change from the first time we see you to the last time we see you. And Wesker, I think, took the exact right steps from game to game. Like, Ada took that jump from 2 to 4, but didn't with 6. Chris didn't from 5 to 6. Leon took it very well, and Wesker took it arguably even better. And where he ends up, which brings us to our final point, is just becoming a wholly, not an entirely different person, but just somebody that you can see after 15 years, 20 years, whatever, you know, of being one way, how they could have grown and become the way they are. You can see the steps, and that is why Albert Wesker, Resident Evil 5, is, to me, the best character in Resident Evil as a whole. He's so sinister. His dialogue is spot on, razor sharp. He's a badass. He looks great. I think everything about him is excellent. Jill, Resident Evil 3, is my favorite of the heroes. But yeah, this is that's it. Obviously not including these the Chronicles games, but this is my list. I hope you guys like it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. In the comments below, feel free to let me know. I know there's going to be a lot of Barry S tiers. I know there's going to be a lot of Rebecca at least A tiers, but I'd like to think that at least my perspective can be seen on some of these. I know some of them, like the Revelations characters, may not be as well thought out as some of the others, but you know, that is what it is. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I recommend trying a list like this yourself as well. It can be a lot of fun. I think it's an interesting exercise on anything you're really interested in. I think this is a good follow-up to what we did last week, and stay tuned for next week when we tackle the games finally. But yeah, if you want more, if you like Resident Evil and you want to talk Resident Evil, I'm always up for it on my Twitch channel. Just name is Dan Survival, link in the description. I stream 5 days a week, and it's always it's always a horror game. Lots of Resident Evil, of course. And I'm always up to talk Resident Evil, so if you want, feel free to check me out there. But yeah, here's the final rundown of our list. Wesker, Jill, RE3 Jill, RE2 Remake Claire, RE4 Leon, Code Veronica, Chris, and Claire are my S tiers. And then it just kind of goes from here. I'm really happy with how this one turned out, though, looking back at it now. I don't see much I would have shuffled around too much. Again, sorry Rebecca fans, but you know, it is what it is. And yeah, just let me know. Be sure to hit the sub button. I release a new video every Wednesday. It's late Wednesday, Thursday, early Thursday technically for some. It depends on your times in there, but anyway, yeah, for more horror content weekly, check it out. I hope to see you. I hope to hear from you. And yeah, let's keep things going. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day or night. And yeah, we'll see you later.